Hi guys, in this particular video, I'm going to make you familiar with all the reading comprehension tones. Now you know RC tone is one of the most important question when you talk about any bank exam, particularly SBI PO. So in this, we will be discussing reading comprehension tones. Whatever 5 words you get in the options, how will you select your tone and what are the variety of tones divided into categories. First, you should understand their meaning, which is covered in this particular video. So, yeah, watch it in detail and then let's see how easy it becomes for you, right?
Hi guys, welcome to Oliveboard's complete banking English course. So this is your video course for complete banking and insurance exams. We have already completed 2 chapters from module 1, reading comprehension. So we have completed our RC approach and the second one being the easy level RC, story based RCs. Now today a very important chapter for all of you, which is tone of the passage. So a lot of times students get stuck with this particular question, right? They are not 100% certain about the answer for tone questions. So this is what we are going to learn today. So mostly after this session you will be confident about marking the answer for tone question. So what is a tone, what are the various tones you should know, and what is the approach, what are the hints you may get to answer this question. And plus a practice question is what we are going to see today. So starting with your tone, we'll start with the meaning. Guys, do make your own notes, right? So once you start watching this particular class, make your notes particularly for tones because it will be helpful for your revision, right? So let's begin. Okay, so first starting with the meaning of tone here. So what is a tone? So in your exam, you are asked this question after reading the passage. You are supposed to tell what is the tone or the attitude of the writer. So like if I ask you what is the meaning of tone, or the question can be the attitude of the author, writer towards the subject. So one and the same thing, whether they ask you the attitude, whether they ask you the tone, right? Now this is a very common question type. So all your questions with passage, reading comprehension, particularly in your PO level exams, they do ask this tone question. So that is why we need to be thorough. And guys, it is not very difficult. So if we learn, probably we'll be able to score from this. Now here, mood of the writer. First understand what is a mood. It refers to audience feeling towards the subject of the writing. Audience's feeling towards the subject of the writing. So basically, what does the author feel about the subject? What is his attitude, right? So basically what happens is authors work hard to create specific tones and moods in their writing, right? So that while of course you're reading something, you're reading a paragraph, you cannot listen to the writer, so you would not know tone. So tone comes right even when you are speaking. So how somebody says or mentions a particular thing, you are able to guess the tone. Here you are reading and you have to guess or infer the tone. What could be the tone? So it is done through words. It is done through how a paragraph is written. We see the structure, right? Okay. So close reading is very important when we talk about inferring the attitude of the author towards the subject. How does the author feels towards the subject? So to infer a tone, we need to do close reading firstly. That is why I always say first you have to read the paragraph like we read in approach, and then only you can go to the question. So the close reading is required in this case. You have to pay careful attention to what are the words selected or used by the writer. Okay. Now we can explain how the writer uses diction, imagery, details, language and syntax. So there are certain hints or certain things that can help you. So when we say diction here, hints that can help you to identify tone. If I say diction, what it refers to is author's choice of words and phrases. So what are the words and phrases used? Now suppose there are a lot of negative phrases used or a lot of negative words used in the paragraph by the author, right, and showing dislike towards the subject, then definitely it is a negative tone. Okay. Second thing what we can see is imagery. Now what is this particular thing? It is a perception created by the author's words. Right? Perception created by the author's words, like how an author wants to show you the subject, right? It can be author may feel negative about it, will display all the negative qualities or will mention all the negative qualities about the subject. So that is the perception the writer creates. Third thing will be details. After imagery you can see details. Now what kind of details? There will be small specific facts mentioned. You need to focus on that. Okay, so these are the things you need to look out for in a paragraph when you are deciding on a tone. So small facts, specific facts, some author will mention, some author will like to not mention. So all these things you have to take care of, right? Language, very, very important. It is the style of author's writing. Okay, so how the author is treating the subject, the distance, emotional distance between the author and the subject, or between the author and the audience. So language plays a very big role. Style of author's writing. Okay, style of author's writing. Very clearly the distance you feel with the subject. Okay, so language पे बहुत कुछ dependent होगा. Next is of course the syntax, just the structure, which we all study in grammar as well. So structure and organization of individual sentences. So how is the structure of the sentences, how these are organized and linked together. So if I refer to these things, DIDLS, this is the short form. If I say DIDLS, so diction, imagery, details, and language and syntax. So basically what is the attitude of the writer, what the writer feels towards the subject is what is the tone of a passage, right? And these are things you look out for to identify tone. It can be words and phrases. You need to concentrate on what picture the writing is trying to create in our mind, right? What we can imagine, what is the perception after reading a paragraph. Details, what details are mentioned, what are skipped by the writer. Language, how the writer is feeling while writing. You have to understand style. That is why we require close reading. Structure, grammatical structure of the sentences, that can also give you hints. Now, very easy step is first elimination of tones based on 3 basic categories, which are positive, negative and neutral. Now, as you can see on your screen, if the writer is favorable, right, favoring the subject of discussion, then the tone is definitely positive. If it is unfavorable towards the subject of discussion, then the tone is negative. And neutral is, suppose you ask yourself a question, whether you would like to hear a particular thing about yourself and you are not sure, right, your answer is not sure, then it becomes neutral. So not supporting any viewpoint at least. Okay? It is devoid of feelings or sentiments. So there are no feelings. Devoid of means कोई feelings नहीं show कर रहा है. Impartial है, किसी एक तरीके या एक तरफ पे झुकाव नहीं है. Impartial है, unbiased है. So positive tones क्या होंगी, जहाँ पे writer subject को favor कर रहा है, उसके लिए बोल रहा है, subject के favor में बोल रहा है. ठीक है. Negative उसके अगेंस्ट, टॉपिक के अगेंस्ट बोल रहा है, सब्जेक्ट के अगेंस्ट बोल रहा है, तो नेगेटिव. न्यूट्रल, जहां पे कोई बायसनेस नहीं है, कोई फीलिंग नहीं है, कोई सपोर्ट नहीं है, कोई व्यू पॉइंट में, जस्ट डायरेक्ट बताई गई है चीजें, फैक्ट्स बताए गए. ठीक है. सो फर्स्ट एलिमिनेशन गाइस, फर्स्ट एलिमिनेशन दैट यू नीड टू डू फॉर योर ऑप्शंस इज बेस्ड ऑन दिस कैटेगरीज. Elimination first will be based on these broad categories. If you think the paragraph or the writer's attitude is positive, you will cancel all the negative and neutral tones options, and if you think it's negative, you will cancel all positive and neutral tone options. Similarly, likewise, you will do that for neutral. If you find it a neutral tone, negative, extreme negative and extreme positive options is what you're going to cancel. So first elimination always for your tone question should be on these three broad categories. Very simple to understand the broad meanings. Now see, in your option choices, mostly you will get, you will see common positive, common negative and common neutral tones. If you already know the meaning of these tones, if you have heard these tones, then it will be simple to eliminate. So what now we are going to do is discuss the positive tones in detail. So each tone we'll discuss in detail. First, starting with the positive one. So laudatory and eulogistic. So here EU is a root which means good, which means well. So this is a very positive tone. Laud means to praise. L-A-U-D in English language means praise. So what kind of tone will this be? Definitely highly appreciative tone. This tone is going to be highly appreciative. So basically, when you praise someone, right? Praise someone or something you admire, right? So how do you write or how do you speak when you praise someone, when you compliment someone, when you admire someone? That kind of tone is laudatory. Okay, very simple from the word itself. So if the writer is expressing praise, commendation, okay, if the writer is full of praise about the subject, approving it, okay, admiring it, then you will always say that the tone is laudatory, eulogistic. ठीक है. सो अगर तारीफ कर रहा है राइटर सब्जेक्ट की, कॉम्प्लीमेंट दे रहा है, कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट कर रहा है और बहुत ही ज्यादा एडमायर कर रहा है, तो क्या होगी टोन? यूलोजिस्टिक या फिर लॉडेटरी. इन दोनों में से कोई एक ऑप्शन दिया रहेगा, दोनों सिमिलर हैं. ठीक है, ऑप्शन में आपको इन दोनों में से कोई एक वर्ड मिलेगा. सो इन द ऑप्शंस आइदर लॉडेटरी विल बी रिटन और यूलोजिस्टिक. सो हाईली एप्रिशिएटिव टोन दिस इज. ओके, next one again is reverent tone. Now this is very interesting. A positive tone, reverence, is always related to respect. Okay, so when we say reverent, it is characterized by reverence, which means respect. So when the writer basically is showing a lot of respect towards the subject, so reverent tones you will find usually in articles where we are talking about a personality. Okay, where we are showing reverence, we are talking about a personality. You will usually see this in passages, right? You are showing deep respect, right? Feeling or showing deep respect. You are worshipping someone. So how at times we worship the stars, right? The celebrities. So it is a very worshipping tone. Okay, you are very loving, admiring towards. You are like devoted towards a particular subject. Okay, these are very, very positive, strong words, guys. So showing deep respect, right? Feeling or showing deep respect towards someone. Feeling or showing deep respect towards the subject is your reverent tone, right? So lot of respect, right? Lot of worship, lot of devotedness, dutiful. You're being dutiful. You're being awed. Okay, how things can be so nice. How a person or a subject. We're talking about the subject in a way like, okay, we are impressed by it, right? So this is a reverent tone. Next one is humorous. Pretty simple. When you talk about things on a lighter note. So basically talking about the subject on a lighter note. So when passage is like that, it is a humorous passage. It will be witty, okay, and amusing. At the same time. So what will we do? Like when we are reading humorous passages, we need to be able to spot the message the author wants to convey in a light-hearted manner. So this is not written in a serious manner. तो जो टोन सीरियस मैनर में नहीं लिखी गई, बहुत ही लाइट फन वे में लिखी गई है, उसको ह्यूमरस टोन बोलेंगे. तो यहाँ पे हमें मैसेज स्पॉट करना पड़ेगा राइटर क्या कहना चाह रहा है. ठीक है, बिकॉज ही इज ट्राइंग टू बी एंटरटेनिंग, ही इज ट्राइंग टू यूज कॉमिक, राइट, ही इज ट्राइंग टू बी विटी. So more of entertaining tone right? He's trying to be entertaining. The writer is trying to be entertaining. Okay, mentioning the subject in such a way, but there is a message that he's trying to convey also that we need to check. So there will be a sense of humor, but we should check, we should be able to spot the message behind the paragraph. Next, compassionate and sympathetic tone. So as the word suggests, when the writer expresses sympathy towards the subject, right? So you are very kind towards the subject, you are showing sympathy, you are being compassionate. So if a topic is such where you are, where the writer is talking about a particular event or an incident that happened, okay, and showing compassion towards the subject, then it is a compassionate tone, right? Pity, basically feeling of pity, when you are literally showing concern for the sufferings of others. Okay, so the writer shows concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. For the sufferings or misfortunes of others. मतलब कोई सफर कर रहा है और राइटर को बहुत उसपे काइंडनेस, दया आ रही है, तो फिर वो क्या टोन होगी? कंपैशनेट, क्योंकि राइटर फील कर पा रहा है किसी की सफरिंग, सो उसे बोलते हैं कंपैशनेट या सिंपैथेटिक टोन. सो सिंपैथी इज जब आप फील कर पाते हो दूसरों की फीलिंग्स की, वो कैसे सफर कर रहे हैं या सैड है, दैट इज सिंपैथी. Okay, next one is optimistic, very direct meaning. If we say optimistic is positive outlook. So when the subject, when the writer towards the subject has so it is positive outlook of facts or events. Okay, so when we look at the positive side of things, okay, so yeah, it is the events and we are looking at all the positive sides. It is simple optimistic tone. Okay, so simple optimistic itself means a positive outlook, looking at the bright side of things, hopeful and confident. Okay, so we are very hopeful and confident, bullish, basically you can say. So basically hopeful about a particular subject. Sanguine, now you have to understand both these very carefully, the difference should be clear. This is confidently optimistic. We just now did optimistic. When we say sanguine, this is confidently optimistic. Okay, which again will mean that you are extremely hopeful, you are cheerfully hopeful. Even if the situation is bad, you are hopeful about it, right, that things will change. You are very, very confidently. So this is more of optimistic. So this optimistic, if I talk about the degree, this sanguine is more optimistic. Okay, so this I'll just put an arrow here, the bigger mouth showing sanguine, which means sanguine tone means और ज़्यादा optimistic, बहुत cheerful. Even if the situation is sad, even if the situation is not okay, you are unrealistically high, you have unrealistically high hopes that okay, things will be definitely okay, and you are always cheerful and hopeful. You are very extremely hopeful. So extreme hopeful, right? Cheerfully hopeful. I just mentioned cheerfully hopeful, extremely hopeful, very, very extreme positive. So basically this at times can be unrealistic also. Okay? So you are trying to say okay, fine, even if the situation is worse, you are still hopeful. So basically you are not very realistic, you can say this. Okay? Next one, nostalgic. When we say nostalgic, it is relating or mentioning the past. So when the subject is about the past, relates, or when the writer mentions the past, okay, then the tone is nostalgic. So if a paragraph or passage is given, say about the childhood experiences, so as a child what the author experienced, that tone can be nostalgic, right? So here you have to understand that it is basically a fond memory, a very, very loving memory of from the past that you remember. So fond memory from the past. So that is why it is in positive. ठीक है, nostalgic is a positive tone. Why? Because we are referring to a fond memory, which after remembering we would say that okay, I want to experience that again, go back to that fond memory again. So that is why we say nostalgic is a tone which is again positive tone. ठीक है, जब आपको याद आती है किसकी, पास्ट की, पास्ट में जो अच्छे एक्सपीरियंसेस हुए उनकी याद आती है, तो दैट टोन इज बिकम्स नॉस्टैल्जिक. ठीक है, एंड दिस इज सिंपल वन टू स्पॉट. बेसिकली नॉस्टैल्जिक टोन you will get to understand that okay, the tone is nostalgic because of course the author will be talking about past, okay, subject in the past, something experienced in the past. So definitely you will be able to understand, maybe remembering and wanting to, author will mention that okay, if I wish I can go back to that past, right, to that happy times. So that is how you will be able to identify that the tone is nostalgic. Okay, again a very common tone type. Next, suggestive. So you will find words like could, should, basically giving feedbacks or suggestions. Okay, so you know at times in paragraphs like we find that okay, the center should do this, the government should do that. So words like these are usually found here. Okay, it is basically giving advice, it is giving suggestions, it is giving feedback. So that will become your suggestive tone. So a lot of suggestions about the subject or on the subject, what could be done, what cannot be done, okay, what should be done. So you will find such words. Okay, in suggestive tone you will find such words. To when the writer is trying to give an idea. Okay, when the writer is indicating or giving an idea, that is a suggestive tone. So it is a tone which is indicative of an idea. Okay, so I will just write indicative, basically indicating an idea. Next is your motivating tone. This is a very positive tone, as you know. Motivates means inspires. So the writing, if it aims to inspire the reader, right, inspire and propel the reader, then it is motivating. Usually in these tones what you will find is, guys, influential quotes. Something which is motivating you will find very influencing quotes or examples will be there. Okay, influential quotes or examples, usually from a personality's life or person's life, popular personality life examples, or you know, incidents from somebody's life. So that can motivate you. ठीक है, so this is motivating tone which tries to inspire you. जो आपको encourage करता है और inspire करता है, वो tone motivating हो जाएगा. तो usually आप देखोगे example किसी बड़ी personality के बारे में होंगे, उनकी life के बारे में होंगे. ठीक है, हाँ, so this becomes your motivating tone. Okay, next is humanistic. So humanistic, as the word suggests, if the writer is writing about issues related to say human values, about say welfare of the society, right, about other such human affairs, then it is humanistic tones. Basically everything related to human values. Okay, so humanistic tones more suitable. Where you will find this tone is when the writer is talking about issues related to welfare, values and other such human affairs. Basically principles, right, सिद्धांतों के बारे में लिखा जाए, principles of humanism. ठीक है, so then that is humanistic tone. Next, starting with your negative. So we just now saw 10 positive tones commonly seen in your option choices. Okay. Now a paragraph can also be negative, which is unfavorable attitude of the writer towards the subject. So like we saw pessimistic, which was positive, concentrating on the positive side. This will be again pessimistic. It is direct negative, simple negative. And we would say looking at the darker sides of things, looking at the disadvantages, looking at the dark side of things. So in a paragraph, if a writer is mentioning the disadvantages of a particular say project or particular scheme, it will be pessimistic tone, or the writer feels that the things will not be okay, or this is going wrong with regards to a particular subject, then it will be a pessimistic, basically trying to see the worst. Okay, so it is a negative tone, you try to see the worst, right? What is, the writer is hopeless, he doesn't have hope about the situation. Now critical is extreme negative. Again, I'll put a sign here for all of you. So more negative outlook is critical. Okay, now if you ask me, I get confused between pessimistic or critical. So the best part is, if it is extreme negative, it will be critical tone. Okay, so just simple negative is pessimistic, critical is extreme negative, where you express disapproving comments. You will see you will find more words which are disapproving in the passage. So extreme, adverse, or disapproving comments or judgments. This is critical. Okay, basically you are talking about the faults, you are talking about reproving, it is censorship. So you are not unfavorable, you are unsympathetic, you're finding faults. So there's a lot of fault finding in critical tone, you will see. Okay, in the passage itself you will find, if the writer is finding faults in the subject, fault finding tone, judgmental tone, that will be critical, very critical. So simple negative, and this is extreme negative, which is critical tone. Next is acerbic. Now this is also highly bitter. Okay, so even more than critical, it is very, very harsh, highly bitter. It is use of very harsh words. Okay, so this is how you will recognize or identify this tone, acerbic. Acerbic is a highly bitter tone. Okay, it is a style of writing which is very, very sharp and straightforward. Sharp and I would say forthright. Even if it is negative, you are straight on the face. You are very, very sharp. You are very, very straightforward. So that is acerbic, right? So this is extreme. So if I write this in order, first will be pessimistic, which is simple negative. Then more negative will be critical. Extreme, very, very extreme harsh will be acerbic. This is the order. Okay, this is the order of degree of negative tones. Skeptical or cynical is always doubtful. So this is again a common tone type which you will see in your option choices. Okay, what is skeptical tone? When the writer has this attitude towards the subject that things are not going to be changed. Okay, so writer is very, very doubtful about or you can say mistrustful about the subject. Okay, so writer is showing that okay, only people are worried about their selfish motives, nothing else. Okay, and the writer is never easily convinced about a particular thing. So not easily convinced about a scheme, about an event, about an approach. So when the writer is not easily convinced, it's just distrustful, very, very doubtful, then we say it is skeptical tone or cynical tone. Okay, so skeptical if I say or cynical if I say are very similar in meaning. You will find either in the option choices. Okay, so cynical also similar. People believe that they are just writer believes that people are just motivated by self-interest. Okay, and people the writer shows no trust of human integrity or sincerity. Okay, so this is the idea that people are always motivated. People are always motivated purely by self-interest. So they have no concern with regards to others. Okay, so totally not trusting people's sincerity. This is cynical tone. तो जब राइटर को बहुत ज्यादा डाउट होता है सब्जेक्ट पे, ठीक है, बिल्कुल भी ट्रस्ट नहीं है सब्जेक्ट को लेके, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं, कौन सी टोन है, सिनिकल. ओके, नेक्स्ट है सरकास्टिक. ये भी बहुत कॉमन है। ये क्या होता है, हम क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं ह्यूमरस तरीके से, सो स्लाइटली ह्यूमरस बट क्रिटिसाइजिंग। तो बेसिकली हम किसी के नेगेटिव बता रहे हैं, नेगेटिव क्वालिटी बता रहे हैं इन अ ह्यूमरस वे, इन अ फनी वे वी आर ट्राइंग टू, जिसे हम टॉन्ट करते हैं, ठीक है। सो सरकाजम क्या होता है, सरकास्टिक क्या होता है, जब व्हेन यू टॉन्ट, ठीक है, वी आर यू नो टॉन्टिंग समवन, बेसिकली मेकिंग अ टॉन्ट on someone, making sarcastic comments to basically make fun of someone but with an intention to teach them, okay, this you are doing some wrong, okay. So basically it is a taunt. You would have experienced this at your house also, suppose, so like if you know make some mistake and your mother says or your elder says that, okay, wow, this is like so nice, I've never seen this before. So basically they're trying to taunt you, okay, what have you done, right, criticize you but in a slightly humorous way, but in a way to teach you, okay. Guys, many of you get confused between two other tones as well that I just need to mention here. So sarcastic is a common one. If you get satiric tone in your option, or if you get sardonic in the negatives only, these two are very very similar, so just remember. So it is again satiric if I say showing, making fun, okay, ridicule, okay, ridiculing someone, mocking someone, you know. So satiric if you get, or if I say it's satire, okay, something which uses satires, something which mocks, it is satirical tone. So don't get confused between this using of humor. Satire is also use of humor, irony or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity. It is also ridicule, make fun of people's stupidity or a stupid action done, which is also satire, okay. So mostly when you see satire, where is it used? Just to point out how stupid an action is, right, okay. So satire is usually a genre also where we use satire, so just to point out how stupid an action can be, how stupid an event can be. So using of humor or exaggeration to expose and criticize people's stupidity, this is satiric, okay. Now if I talk about your sardonic tone, sardonic tone is again mocking, right, it is again a mocking tone, making fun, extreme fun, okay. So we give us sardonic smile, yeah, basically showing that, okay, mocking someone in a humorous way, making fun of someone. So these you may find similar. You will not mostly find all the three words in the options together, sarcastic, sardonic or satiric, but you should know the subtle difference, and then you will be fine and you will be able to understand the passage and accordingly mark. So you will not find all the three together in your options, okay. Next is disdainful or condescending. This is of course blaming. So when the writer, a lot of passages are like that, okay. Even when you read your editorials, you will find disdainful tone, which is blaming or showing lack of respect towards a particular issue or the subject. So blaming, or you can say showing lack of respect towards the subject, okay. This will be your disdainful tone, okay. Lot of articles where they are criticizing but also showing, having an attitude of superiority, okay. So we are superior and what is this, right, this is a stupidity done and we are showing lack of respect towards someone, so that is condescending or disdainful. So in this particular tone, you will notice that the writer is showing an attitude of superiority or patronizing, okay, arrogance. There is attitude of superiority, some arrogance, okay. You will be able, after reading, you will be able to find, okay, that if the subject will be like, if the writer is writing, I am smart to understand, I am clever, or I know better. So these are the things you'll find in the paragraph. I know better about the subject. That tone will be disdainful or condescending. Next one, pejorative. This is disapproving not believing of facts, ideas, or events. So basically pejorative when you do not agree with or when you do not approve the given facts, right? That is a pejorative tone. So again it is negative because you are showing your disapproval. Okay, you are showing disapproval, you are saying that you do not agree to a particular thing, you are against it. Okay, that is why it is called a pejorative tone. So it is disapproving, insulting tone. Next will be ironic. Now, very simple way to understand is something is expected. So writer is talking about a subject where something was expected but something else happens. So contradictory to what is believed that will happen, something else happens. So this is irony. You expect something but something else happens. So this is a paradoxical tone. This is irony. Okay? So paradoxical is when the writer is talking about a subject which is contradictory, which is self-contradictory, okay? Which looks strange also. So it is basically, I will just write here contradictory, or you can say just self-contradictory. I give a very easy example for you so that people remember paradoxical tone. So standing at the same place makes you more tired than roaming around. So this is a contradictory paradoxical thing. Okay, usually if you will roam around, move about, that will be more tiring, but it seems paradoxical that you are standing at the same place and that is making you more tired. Similarly, if I can say if you drink a cup of hot tea, it seems to cool you down. So if you will have a hot tea, it seems to, very simple, okay? It seems to cool you down. So this is self-contradictory statements because we are saying we'll have hot tea, but it is cooling you down. Okay, that will be the effect. So this is something contradictory, something expected but something else happens. That is a ironic or contradictory or paradoxical tone. So these were a few negative tones. Now some tones you cannot would say are neither positive nor negative, which are neutral tones. So we'll start with neutral, which is the first one, descriptive. Very important tone, guys. So descriptive will give you a detailed description about something. So a lot of describing of events. So descriptive tones, okay, will be description. Okay, seeking to just describe, trying to describe something. So very you can say it is with examples. So it can be illustrative. It can be illustrative with a lot of examples. Okay, very expressive tone. When you are describing, you express a lot. Okay, explanatory, right? Explaining something in detail. So these are your close words for descriptive. Next, informative or factual. This will give you data. This will give you data, facts. It is mentioned facts, right? Will data and examples. So where data and examples of the data are given about the subject, then that is informative, or you can also say factual. Any of the two options will be given, right? So either it will be written in the options informative or either factual will be mentioned. So you just remember with the help of facts. Okay? Facts are mentioned, data is mentioned. Narrative. Now narrative is story. Okay? It is basically usually used for story, a narration. So narrative tone, always remember, if it is a story, you usually get, like I told you, in your clerk level exams you usually get story passages. So mostly for your story passages, the tone is narrative. So basically there will be connected events. How a story is framed, there are connected events in a story. Okay. So it is a recital about what happened. There will be experiences recited. Okay, recital of experiences. It's a story form. Okay, narrative. Next, didactic is teaching. It is more of giving moral instructions. So didactic is more of teaching. It is giving moral instructions, like how a teacher gives you or dictates, gives instructions. It is like that, didactic. So basically when you say information is given, but in what sense? It is given authoritatively, like how you remember the example of teacher dictates. Okay, authoritatively means you have the authority and you are dictating, you are giving information. Okay, so when the writer is giving information in an authoritative way, giving moral instructions, okay, dictating. Remember this tone with the help of dictation just. Okay, so that will become your didactic tone. Clear? So it is basically to teach. Okay, so everything related to teach in a manner of a teacher. See, educational. Okay, so basically intended to teach. It is more of an educational tone. Okay. So this is your didactic. Next is subjective and objective. Now usually people get confused. So very clear distinction between these two tones. This is your own point of view. When you are being subjective, you are talking about your own point of view, your opinions. It is a subjective tone from the subject viewpoint, right? So writer will give his or her own opinion about the subject. Okay, what he feels personally. Okay, there are feelings here involved. Okay, so in subjective tone, there is feeling. You need to understand it is influenced by personal opinion, by personal taste. So that is why we say own point of view. It is influenced by personal feelings, opinions. Right? Very subjective tone. It is more like intuitive. Objective, on the other hand, is purely based on straight facts. Here, emotions don't play a role. It is just straight facts, or you can say pointers. Objective tone. Okay. Now, here, when we talk about the objective tone, it is straight facts or pointers. Okay. Means we are not influenced by our own personal feelings. We are impartial. We are not biased. Okay, in relation to our feelings, we are not partial. So that is an objective tone. Now some of you will ask what is the difference between objective and then we learned there is factual, which is again facts. So here facts is more of data plus example. Okay, here just plain simple pointers is objective tone. Next one is cautious. So as the word mentioned, that arouse caution. That is, if a writer is written about a subject and basically the writer is trying to alert the reader. Okay, so this is what is happening. We need to be more alert with regards to this situation. Suppose the writer is talking about climate change. So cautious tone or circumspection will be that we need to be more careful. We need to be worried about a particular issue. The cautious is careful. To avoid the potential problems, the writer is saying we need to be aware, we need to be alert. Okay, to avoid the potential dangers. It talks about potential dangers. Usually you will have issues like climate change. Okay, passages where they have discussed issues like potential climate change dangers. This will be an example of a cautious tone. Analytical is here facts are compared. Don't get confused with factual now. Facts are compared. See, informative or factual, only facts are mentioned. Here, very important thing, if we are saying analytical, facts are compared. Okay, they are analyzed. Okay, so examples are there, but analysis is understanding in detail. Facts are totally compared. They are analyzed. Okay. So there is whole statistics involved in this. So that is analytical tone. Okay, I hope you will not get confused with factual. Facts is just mentioning. Factual is just mentioning the facts. Here there's a lot of logical reasoning. Okay, so scientific, investigation, logical reasoning. So this is more on logic. This is more scientific. Okay, more accurate. Okay, so analysis, how it is based. It is more of scientific, thing to do, analysis. Right? So facts are compared and analysis is done. So these are your neutral tones. Some tones we don't have a category for, right? But they do give those in options. So let us check those as well. If you get to see these tones in the options, you should be familiar with these. Sometimes they say introspective. Usually for subjective paragraphs, when the writer is examining or thinking at length about a particular subject, that is introspective. Okay, in detail, thinking about a particular subject. Right? So usually you will find passages like wondering, words like wondering about it, or contemplating, thinking about it. So contemplative is also mentioned. Contemplating is thinking at length about a particular subject, wondering how things can be or how this happened, okay, how an event happened. So all these things are a part of your introspective, or you can say contemplative tone. Okay, so how you will be able to identify? Usually it will be thought, prolonged thought, reflective. Basically, the writer is very, very reflective. It is not a very strong thing, strong opinions, but yeah, he is very reflecting on things. So he is very reflective about the subject. He is meditating or thinking about it, right? Very thoughtful, devoted to a particular thing, so thoughtful about it. Apathetic tone is lack of any emotion. When you see plain and simple paragraph written, there is no emotion being displayed, that is apathetic tone. Okay, so there is no strong emotion that is reflecting in the passage, that is apathetic. Okay, so apathetic meaning where there is no strong emotion. You are not showing concern. So there is no concern, no enthusiasm towards the subject, no concern, no interest. That is apathetic tone. Just plain and simple and boring. Pedestrian is when the writer talks about very, very common things. So when commonplace things or ideas are discussed in a passage, that is a pedestrian tone. This also you will usually find in your option choices. It's a common one that they usually mention in the option choices. So basically pedestrian is again very, very dull tone, which is lacking inspiration, which becomes boring also. A pretty dull tone. It is just talking about very common things, very common and very monotonous things which happens regularly, nothing very new. It is pedestrian. Dogmatic is of course opinionated, basically very strong opinion. Okay, so when we say a dogmatic tone is inclined of course towards something which is not totally true. Okay, so when we say okay, this is definitely there, right, we are adamant, we are stubborn on one opinion. So you also shows narrow-mindedness when you're not open to other viewpoints. Or writer has a viewpoint about the subject and he's narrow-minded, means he is not open to see other viewpoints. That is dogmatic tone. Okay, so it is very, very assertive and very strong opinion. So very strongly opinionated, very strong opinion about a particular subject, not willing to change. So it is inflexible. Okay, when the writer is inflexible, not willing to change his idea or opinion about a subject, that is a dogmatic tone. Next is speculative. So speculative revolves around hypothetical things. You will usually see guys, writers give expert opinions. Okay, if this happened, this will happen. So that is speculative. We are not sure or certain about something, but the passage is revolving around hypothetical things. So we are giving conditions, if this happens or that happen. So usually your expert opinions are speculative. ठीक है. Next is bigoted or prejudiced. Of course, biased. Okay. When you are biased, partial towards an idea. Biased towards an idea. Now don't get confused with dogmatic, because there it is more of narrow-mindedness. Okay. You're not willing to accept other views about the same subject. Here it is, you are open to the views about the same subject, but yeah, you have your own biasness. You are still willing to be biased towards an opinion. This is bigoted, right? Or prejudiced, you would say. Next, incendiary or provocative. So if you have heard across, like if you come across or heard some, famous speeches by great orators, and you found some very soul-stirring or moving words. Okay, so when there is moving, very, very strong words used, soul-stirring. So even great speakers or, use this kind of tone while speaking, which will actually incite, or which will, create this emotion inside you in a very, very positive or strong way. So, which will incite people in a, it can be positive or negative direction. So this is very forceful tone, I would say, because it is encouraging people. It can encourage people in a very positive way or in a very negative way also. Okay, so words are like that, right? So when we say incendiary, the words used will be very, very strong. Okay, provocating. It is provoking you to react. Okay, incendiary is designed basically to stir up or start a conflict if it is in a negative sense, or start or motivate or encourage a person or arouse feelings of encouragement, which is a very strong tone. ठीक है, incendiary. जैसे हम अगर हिंदी में बोले तो जैसे हमको भड़काना है किसी को, तो हम incendiary, हम provoke करते हैं कि कोई reaction दे, तो वो tone क्या हो जाती है, incendiary. ठीक है, okay. Grandiose या romantic tone. Grandiose या romantic में क्या होगा? May appear more elaborative when the passage is more elaborative, okay, than necessary. Because we use extra words, we use flowery language, it is very, very grand. And in the option you can find any one. It can be romantic also, it can be grand also. In the options it can be any one. Okay, so grand is again using of very powerful words, very big fluent way of expressing, so but which is not actually required. It is too much detail, okay, which is not required, but to impress, basically the paragraph is written to impress, right? So impress, so that looking at the words, it is very, very impressive. The reader is impressed by the words, by the way of writing, so it is an impressive, bold tone. Okay, so that is grandiose or romantic tone. Okay, so we did 4 categories actually: positive, negative, neutral, then you had uncategorized. Under each we discussed few words. Usually in your options, like mostly more than 90% times you'll find these tones in the option. So if you know the meanings well, you will be able to identify. So the first step is you should know the option meanings. Whatever tone is there mentioned in the option, you should know their meanings. Through questions, then you start answering tone questions. You realize, okay, now I am able to identify through words, okay, this kind of tone. So if you know the detailed meaning of these words, it becomes easy for you, right? Now I'll just give you quick tricks how to go about finding the tone, and then we'll do one practice question so that you can test whether you are able to give me the correct tone choice from the given 5 options. So let's go to the tone strategy first. So very quickly for all of you, a quick recap on how to figure out the tone. What is the hint probably that you can use here? So first step, guys, identify the nature of the passage. First step is going to be identify the nature of the passage. So whether it is facts or opinion, right? Whether it is a lot of data or just personal views. Then you do first elimination based on this. Then second important thing what you can take or focus on is word choices and phrases used by the writer. So the word choices are important because if there are many positive words, definitely the tone has to be positive. If it is a lot of negative words, so the tone has to be negative. Okay. Identify the main idea of the paragraph. Why is the paragraph written? What was the purpose? What is the message writer is going to give? And then correlate it with tone. Okay. Correlate the main idea with it. So correlate it with the tone. There should be match between the two. Okay. So tone or your main idea should have a synergy. There should be a match between these two things. This cannot go haywire. So main idea is positive or negative information and tone is main idea is negative information and tone is positive. This doesn't go hand in hand. So these should go together. Okay. And also you should try and label the tone in your own words. Okay. Then look at the option. Maybe then it will be more clear. Okay. So then you will see whether you are able to understand it well or no. Your tone matches with the answer or no. So like that is why we do editorial. We are learning editorial or we are discussing editorial tones also. Why? Because it comes into a practice. It becomes a habit. That is why we are able to see, okay, I am able to recognize or infer the correct tone or no. So to get that into habit, you can do that. Read an editorial, read an article, okay, and try to give your own tone to it, right? And try to see what is the tone of the paragraph. Let's now go to our example question. So you need to read the passage. You can pause the video, read the paragraph, then we move to the tone question. Okay, continue reading. Pause the video and continue reading. Okay, next para. So here we are asked the overall tone of the passage. Okay, so these are our 5 options. Now the passage talks about her, basically author is talking about her views on tactics of manifestation, of visualization. How can we visualize a certain thing and if we want it to be true? So how is the writer's way of expressing that? Now, there is no sympathy. This tone shows basically sympathy or pity. Okay? So here there is no sympathy about the subject. So very simple to cancel out if you know the meaning of commiserating. It is showing pity, showing sympathy, feeling or expressing sympathy. Grandiose, we just now read, very impressive in style. When the language is very impressive in style, which was not the case here. It was easy to understand language. It was not very elaborative, so grandiose will also be wrong. Populist tone is, guys, which a person which should appeal to the ordinary people. So populist tone is appears to ordinary people. Okay, and not it is for the masses. It is for the ordinary people and not for a particular class. So which people can relate to, maximum people can relate to. This was not a subject like that, visualization or manifestation, which will appear to all or everybody or ordinary people. Candid is very, very frank, straightforward. Okay, truthful. Whatever you feel, you say it. So truthful, you can say straightforward. Direct tone is candid. And motivating also, this is what we studied, which incites, or encourages or aims or inspires us. So very inspiring tone, which is not the case here. So basically, writer's own personal views are directly given, right? The tactics of manifestation and visualization, what the writer feels about these tactics, about these things, right? About visualization, about this process of manifestation. So he is very straightforward. Writer is very straightforward about this particular subject. So your correct answer choice here will be option choice D, right? So not very difficult one. If you know the meanings of the given options, it is pretty simple to answer. Okay, guys, I hope you now have some understanding of tones. Now you will be little bit confident while attempting this question type. We'll do more questions. So there is high level or difficult level RC also, which we'll be practicing, and which will definitely have a tone question. We'll practice more questions on this, but yeah, please revise the theory part at least. Be very familiar with the words that we have discussed today. So this is how you'll be able to manage and give the answer accurately in the paper for tone questions, right? Okay. So do revise. Hope this was helpful, and tell others also about this class, and do mention in the comments if you have any doubts. I will solve your query. I'll reply back, right? So first listen to this or watch this video very carefully. Make your own notes for revision as well. Okay. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you, and stay tuned with Oliveboard. Thank you.
Okay, so this was your tones video. Now you see all the categories of tones, and under each category you have a variety. Also the differences between some of the common tones, right? So guys, very, very important. This was your basics of tones, which is very important. Now for your SBI PO, there's already a batch on Oliveboard, which is gold batch, right? For both pre and mains, SBI PO gold. You can use my code Harshita for discount and enroll. We will be learning more such important concepts in this course. HARSHITA is my coupon code, and this course is available for your SBI PO if you're targeting SBI PO for this year, right? So any queries, do mention in the comments below. Thank you.